Exactly.
I had a question, but we run out of time.
Morgan Freeman is one of the most respected actors of our time, known not just for his incredible performances, but also for his wisdom and strong opinions. Recently, he appeared on The View to discuss his latest Netflix documentary, Life on Our Planet. However, what was supposed to be an insightful conversation turned into yet another disappointing and frustrating moment for viewers. Instead of engaging Freeman in meaningful discussions, the hosts wasted his time with shallow, agenda-driven questions. To make matters worse, the segment was abruptly cut short, leaving the audience wanting more. So, what exactly happened in this disastrous interview? Let's break it down step by step.
I'm one of those people who's very, very interested in this subject, life on the planet. You understand that today, life on the planet is in a little bit of trouble. And we're the cause of it.
That's right.
Morgan Freeman, a Hollywood legend, rarely gives interviews that aren't filled with deep insights. When he appeared on The View, fans expected a meaningful discussion about his latest documentary and his decades of experience in the industry. Unfortunately, the show's host turned it into a chaotic segment that lacked depth. Instead of diving into Freeman's unique perspectives, they derailed the conversation with irrelevant and shallow topics. Many viewers felt this was a wasted opportunity to hear from a man who has witnessed the evolution of Hollywood, culture, and the world firsthand. The biggest frustration came from the show's apparent lack of preparation, which resulted in Freeman being asked predictable and uninspired questions.
There have been, if I remember correctly, 6 extinction-level events on the planet since life began. I mean, 6 times. Large portions of life. Not human life we're talking. We're talking just life. Gone, destroyed. We're headed for another one. Scientists have said if we don't hurry up and change our ways, there's going to be a cataclysmic event that will wipe many of us off the face of the earth.
God.
During the discussion, Freeman was explaining how life on Earth has always been in flux and has survived multiple extinction events. However, Joy Behar interrupted him, trying to steer the conversation toward the idea that human activity is solely responsible for the planet's issues. Instead of allowing Freeman to fully articulate his thoughts, she pushed the common media narrative that drastic measures must be taken immediately, or disaster is imminent. Freeman, however, did not take the bait. He remained calm and composed, subtly mocking Behar's over-the-top alarmism. His response highlighted the importance of understanding history and science rather than giving in to fear-driven exaggerations.
You look back, and this series does that. How far back does life exist on this planet? And why does it still exist? It is because life is tenacious. Life. We're not talking about human beings here. We're talking about the planet.
Yeah.
She'll stay.
Yeah.
Well, it's tenacious if we would just leave it alone. Leave it alone. And the human interruption of all of that is what's causing all the problems. I hope that it's not too late. But let me ask you this, Jim. Seeing the rise and fall of all these species, because some are coming in too, right? And many are leaving the planet. Did that change your perspective on life?
My perspective on life, I don't think it changed my perspective. It just enhanced it. Because for a long time now, I've been listening to what they say about, I drive an electric car.
Yeah, me too.
And no, it did not change my perspective.
No. You've always been concerned.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
always.
It's relative.
How far can you go back with always?
Freeman's core message was that while environmental issues are real, life on Earth is incredibly resilient. He pointed out that species have come and gone over millions of years, and despite multiple mass extinctions, life has always found a way to survive. He urged people to focus on understanding nature rather than being driven by panic. However, the View hosts were not interested in hearing this perspective. They wanted to hear dramatic, fear-based rhetoric, and when Freeman didn't deliver, they seemed frustrated. His calm demeanor and fact-based approach completely disrupted their narrative, making it clear that he wasn't going to fall into the usual media traps. At one point, Sunny Hostin shifted the conversation away from the documentary and attempted to bring up racial issues.
I want to ask you about a different documentary.
Go ahead.
As some politicians around the country try to erase Black history, you're making sure people don't forget vital parts of our past, including this documentary that you executive produced called 761st. Did I get that right? Yeah, 761st Tank Battalion, the original Black Panthers, about the first Black battalion to fight in World War II.
First Black Armored Battalion.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you served in the Air Force. I know that. This film was then very personal to you.
She referenced Freeman's work on the 761st Tank Battalion, a documentary about the first Black Armored Battalion in World War II. While Freeman was more than willing to discuss this important piece of history, Hostin's questions seemed more focused on pushing a victimhood narrative rather than celebrating the achievements of these soldiers. Freeman, who has always emphasized unity over division, responded thoughtfully but did not play into the racial grievance politics that Hostin appeared to be encouraging.
Oh, yes, heavens. I movie buff from early childhood. I saw my first movie when I was like 6 years old. It was King Kong.
Oh, that was a good one.
Scared the hell out of me.
It did.
But I just, movies.
Yeah.
And start in the 40s and move up. And how many times did I see Black people in the movies? And if I did see them, what were they doing?
Yeah.
There were servants. They were always. I know. It's watch old movies. Betty Davis movies are particularly, even though she's great. And
It's the period
It's not her
of time
fault.
that
It's
the
the
movies
period.
were made.
It's
just what
upsetting
they
to
were
watch.
doing.
Tell you the
Well,
truth.
it shouldn't be that way
It
because
is.
somebody did make money.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And there it was. That's the time. Now look at today. Things are. We're always in flux.
Yeah.
Always.
But we've always been here,
Yeah.
fluxing out.
Flux.
His responses made it clear that he sees Black history as American history, not something separate or victimized. Freeman has long held the belief that race should not be the defining factor in success. During an earlier appearance at the Oxford Union, he stated that Hollywood is ultimately about money, not race.
So yes, staying on the issue of race, did you ever face discrimination in your career at the start? Do you still feel that it happens nowadays? I mean, what is your view of the issue of race in Hollywood?
I don't think there is an issue of race in Hollywood. Somewhere back there in the 70s, the decision was made by almost all and sundry that we have to start open casting. Now, if you look on television, you pretty much see the range of cultural, that's not the right word because we all belong to the same culture. We just, anyway, but you see everybody. And I think that Hollywood learned in the 70s, all right, here's reality. Isaac Davis directed a movie called Cotton Comes to Harlem. It made hundreds of millions of dollars. And of course, Hollywood is colorblind. It only sees green. If it makes money, it's a good thing.
He pointed out that in the 1970s, Hollywood realized that diversity made business sense, leading to a shift in casting practices. He emphasized that while racism has existed, it is not the sole determining factor in a person's success. However, The View hosts seemed uninterested in this perspective. Their focus was on framing Hollywood as systematically racist, ignoring Freeman's lived experience and insights. His refusal to conform to their narrative clearly made them uncomfortable. As the conversation continued to veer away from the host's expected narrative, Whoopi Goldberg stepped in and suddenly announced that they were out of time. The abrupt end to the segment felt highly suspicious, especially given that other, far less accomplished guests have received longer interviews.
Exactly.
I had a question, but we run out of time. Listen, this is extraordinary, this documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Please keep
agree.
making all the documentaries that you're...
Cutting Freeman off just as he was countering their narratives made it seem like they were trying to silence him. Whether this was intentional or not, the way it was handled came across as disrespectful, leaving viewers frustrated that such an important conversation was cut short. Adding to the controversy, the full episode featuring Freeman was later removed from The View's official YouTube channel. This raised even more questions. Was it because Freeman challenged their narratives too effectively? Did they not want viewers to see how poorly they handled the interview? Whatever the reason, this move only fueled speculation that they were embarrassed by how the segment played out. Fortunately, internet users were quick to archive the episode, ensuring that Freeman's words were not erased from public view. Morgan Freeman is not the type of person who can be easily manipulated into saying what the media wants. He speaks from experience, intelligence, and a deep understanding of history. This is why mainstream outlets often struggle with him. He doesn't conform to prepackaged narratives. He believes in unity, personal responsibility, and understanding history in its full context, rather than through a lens of victimhood or fear. His responses on The View showcased exactly why he is so respected by those who appreciate honest, independent thinking. Once clips of the interview began circulating online, social media users quickly called out The View for their treatment of Freeman. Many criticized the host for wasting his time, pushing narratives he clearly didn't agree with, and cutting him off when he didn't play along. Viewers overwhelmingly felt Freeman deserved better. The internet's reaction showed that audiences are tired of media prioritizing agendas over meaningful discussions. This interview only strengthened Freeman's reputation as a voice of reason in an industry often driven by controversy. In the end, Morgan Freeman did what he does best. He spoke the truth. Despite The View's attempts to steer the conversation, he remained composed and insightful. Whether discussing environmental issues or Hollywood, he refused to conform to alarmist or divisive narratives. His appearance proved why so many people respect him. He values facts, history, and unity over sensationalism. While The View may have tried to erase the episode, the internet ensured his words were not forgotten. Freeman once again showed that true wisdom cannot be silenced. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one!